Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, Ivan, still here with us. All right, the Highland clearances, History Matters video. If you're new to the channel, hello, my name's Connor. My camera's about to fall. My name's Connor. Love for you to join us here. Learn about history through YouTube recommendations. Original video in the top description below. The Discord link will be right below that. Love for you to join us. All right, let's get into it. The Highland clearances. Explain. Scotland here. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
This area of Scotland, called the Highlands, relative to the rest of Scotland, is very sparsely populated. In the mid-18th century, about 30% of Scots lived there, but is very sparsely populated. In the mid-18th century, about 30% of Scots lived there. By the turn of the 20th, it was about 8%. So what happened? Well, the Highland clearances happened. So, to give a bit of background, the early 18th century had seen a series of rebellions against British rule in Scotland in what are called the Jacobite rebellions. These were where numerous Scottish clans, many of whom lived in the Highlands, maintained their loyalty to the House of Stuart, who had previously ruled England, Scotland and Ireland until they got a bit too Catholic, which led to their deposition in the Glorious Revolution in 1688. And many in Scotland refused to acknowledge the new House of Orange and its successors and saw them as illegitimate rulers. When Scotland merged with England in 1707, its crowns merged too, and the Scottish clans took matters into their own hands. These rebellions were routinely defeated by the ever more professional British Army, and the government could see that there was only one way to prevent future uprisings: break the clan system. And the first way they could do this was by punishing the lords who had rebelled by depriving them of their lands and giving them to loyal subjects. These subjects, while most of them were Scottish, spent the majority of their time in lands and giving them to loyal subjects. These subjects, while most of them were Scottish, spent the majority of their time in London, and over the generations they had less and less in common with their ancestral homeland, which is where economic developments come in. At this point, Britain was in the initial stages of the Industrial Revolution, which saw a greater number of people move to towns and cities for work. These people needed to be fed, and so farmlands were transformed to become more efficient. Thus the lords of the Highlands endeavoured to make their lands more economically valuable by turning them into massive sheep farms because money. The problem was...
Why is it so funny to me, these drawings? I don't know what it is. It's so great. It's clearly just the paint, like the Google paint. You have some just rectangles, obviously very nice dress wear and stuff. It's just, this channel is so great. How would you guys call it? Brilliant over there. So simple, funny, satisfying, teaches a lot in a short amount of time.
So farmlands were transformed to become more efficient. Thus the lords of the Highlands endeavoured to make their lands more economically valuable by turning them into massive sheep farms because money. The problem was that people already lived there and farmed it for themselves, and legally the land was theirs in common. But this problem was quickly solved by changing the law. And so began the Highland clearances, whereby men and soldiers under the command of the nobility would forcibly evict people from their homes. And to stop them from returning, their houses would be burned down, and over the course of a century, over 100,000 people were left homeless and destitute. Now, there's a commonly held idea that the clearances were undertaken mostly by English lords, but this isn't true. The majority were Scottish, but the worst offender was an Englishman, hence the belief. This man was the Duke of Sutherland, although at this point he was only a marquis, like some sort of a peasant. And his eviction shouldn't be seen as just economic dislocation. This was the focus to near absolute obliteration of a lifestyle and culture which had existed since before records began. So what happened to these dispossessed people? Well, they were simply left to their own devices, and they didn't have many choices. For many, the only alternative was emigration, and so they headed for the New World, often the United States and Canada, but many went to Australia and New Zealand too. But how could they afford the journey there if they were left penniless? Well, their choice was simple: potential starvation or indentured servitude. In the end, the Highlands were left sparsely populated, and even the sheep which replaced the people also disappeared, because the farms there weren't able to compete with the lamb and wool industries.
Look at the sheep
from New Zealand also disappeared, because the farms there weren't able to compete with the lamb and wool industries from New Zealand, many of whose farmers were, ironically, the descendants of those who were cleared from the Highlands. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching.
I did. Thank you for making such a great video. I'm going to get on my Epic History TV video next. See you guys soon. See you, Ivan. Say bye. That was very interesting, though. Guys, subscribe. Go check out History Matters. Get on the Discord. See ya.